So speaking of plentiful,
let's talk about wine.
There is a lot of these two grapes grown around the world. I'm talking about Grenache and Chenin Blanc.
Chenin Blanc. Let's start with that one. So
you want to start with the Chenin Blanc?
I sure do.
Okay, let's do it.
So when you read about the history, historically, it's out of France. But South Africa now dominates that market.
Huge.
They are the largest producer of it.
South Africa has thousands.
When it switched.
I don't know when it switched, Sarah, but I know that between France and South Africa, they're the dominants. But South Africa today probably produces more premium Chenin Blanc than France does, for sure.
Which sounds a little wrong. I feel like the French, they know their wine, and they have history in wine, and they have standards. Not that South Africa doesn't, but you always have these high expectations out of France when it comes to wine.
Well, it's so regulated out of France.
Yes.
The standards are so high. And if you step across those boundaries, you're frowned upon. And so that's not good. Those restrictions keep their wine very pure. They keep those standards super high. And so I think that's why year over year, France is always dubbed as one of the greats of the world. But look, do not think that South Africa doesn't produce good wine. I've got some great South African wine in the collection from a vineyard called Vergelegen. Incredible winery. They do reds and whites. And man, they make some good stuff down there. Great growing conditions. So yeah, I don't think I realized that South Africa had pulled so far ahead of France until recently when it comes to Chenin Blanc, but still a very popular grape. And here's something really cool about Chenin Blanc. Most whites are not ageable wines.
Right.
Chenin Blanc produces so much acidity, not necessarily the residual sugar, though it does have a lot of that, but so much acidity. This wine can sit on the shelf for 10, 15, 20 years, much like a Riesling, and or a Sauvignon Blanc, some of those wines that have good residual sugar and high acid. Chenin Blanc can get it done, and tends to be a pretty collectible juice.
Absolutely. We always talk, even speaking with people, clients, friends, family, no one, when they're aging wine, it's always red. They're always like, oh, I'm saving that bottle for my retirement. I'm saving that bottle for when I get married. You never hear people talk about, well, I'm saving this white for so-and-so. I just think that the knowledge isn't there, though, that it's capable of aging certain grapes.
I think you're right. Most people, what do they hear throughout their, what I'll call sort of a novice drinking or a novice wine experience? They never really grow beyond that. They don't necessarily want to. They're not trying to become a sommelier. But what happens in that novice atmosphere is what you hear is reds age, whites don't.
Right.
And that's not true. Now, a lot of whites cannot age. They don't have the right blend of things in them. And
don't go saving all of your white wine for 10 years.
Right. You're going to be disappointed. But certain ones, your white Bordeaux's, which is Sauv Blancs or Semillons, and or your Chenin Blancs, there's a lot of white wines that can age, and they can age for a long time. They produce great wines that you have with savory foods. You can eat them with or drink them with desserts, and then a lot of these wines that the white ageable wines can even become dessert wines in a lot of cases. So they're big boys in a lot of ways, and if you just know what they are. In fact, I was listening to a wine critic recently, and he said that the most of his wine collection, if you looked at it in terms of percentage, he has a higher percentage of Chenin Blanc than anything else.
Well, because they create everything. It can be dry, it can be sparkling, It can be almost desserty.
Yeah.
Desserty, that's
I like it. No, I like it. It is now. We're going to put that in the Oxford.
And it goes, so when you read about the tasting notes and what it pairs with, one of the things I was reading is that it goes really well with sweet and sour. So anything that has a sweet and a sour, I love it. So
that's
it's
right up
versatile.
your alley. Oh, yeah, totally.
It's fantastic.
But particularly with spicy foods, you can eat it with that. And then things like goat cheese, killer with
Mm.
that. But I'm going to tell you one thing that I love about Chenin Blanc. It goes with a lot of stuff. I mean, you've got stuff on our list here, coleslaw, apples, and all kinds of great notes of flavors in there. So you can really pair this thing with a lot. I love Chenin Blanc when I'm cooking. I use it to reduce instead of traditional wines. I will, whatever Chenin we're drinking, I'll
Yeah.
use some of it to reduce in sauces.
Oh boy.
Killer.
I thought you were going to
Killer.
say that's your favorite thing to drink while cooking.
Well, I do sip on it while I'm cooking occasionally, but when I'm making a particular sauce for whether it's a halibut or chicken or whatever it is, instead of, you know, your traditional reduction of stock, I'll use some of the Chenin Blanc. And boy, when you reduce Chenin Blanc, the flavors are just amazing. They can do some cool stuff to the sauce. So
well,
very popular. Yeah. Well, hey, it's very popular in French cooking. So
yum. Yep. I know one of the things that pairs well with is pate, and I love.
Do you like pate?
I do.
Oh my goodness, man.
Well, I've had some that I did not like.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well,
depending on what location I'm at.
I've probably had some that I didn't like, but I do love pate. I love to make pate, and if you know, for some people that have never made pate, it's not that daunting. But Chenin Blanc and pate, killer combination. Or you could even do something like a pork rillette or a duck rillette. So about as close to pate as you get, not quite the creaminess, a little more texture than say pate, but much easier to make than a pate, and you get the same experience. So if you're not up for making pate, listeners, try your hand at a rillette, pork or duck, and you will not be disappointed. Good stuff with a Chenin Blanc. I
think we did duck rillette for Christmas, for one of your Christmas parties. It was fantastic.
We did.
Okay,
yeah, and it had a little layer of duck fat on top, and
very healthy.
Yeah,
very delicious.
You know, duck fat is if you're going to eat a fat, duck fat's probably more. It's closely linked to olive oil in terms of its qualities.
Well,
so
it's
not all bad, but I wouldn't. You know, I wouldn't start drinking it. Or anything.
Oh gosh! All right.
All right. What's our red grape?
What we would be drinking is some Grenache.
Grenache or Garnacha.
Yes.
In Spain, right?
Well, I don't speak Spanish, so I'm gonna.
Well, I don't either, but
I can tell.
Big grape here, big red.
Very, very popular. It's more so. It's very fruit forward and almost a little sweeter than what I usually, you know, that my palate is in love with. But I put one on here, Saddest Day, and y'all, you can find this at Trader Joe's, and I would put it up against some big boy Grenaches. It is really, it is fantastic.
Okay, I got to try it. Well, Grenache is an interesting wine. Unfortunately, you know, in the last 5-10 years, we've seen production of Grenache go down, which is kind of disappointing because Grenache is so good. Grenache covers the gamut. Typically, you know, if we wanted to start with, you know, say super big kind of wines, big, bold kind of wines, you'd think of things like a Chateauneuf de Pape. So out of France, blended with Grenache. That's one of the most popular parts of the blend. You go to Australia, you'll find things like a GSM. So GSM would be Grenache, and you'd get Mavoudre in that Mavoudre, and you would get, what's the S? Syrah. So you get Grenache, Syrah, and Mavoudre. And that is a killer wine. GSM was one of the first Australian wines that I tried and loved it. So Grenache is everywhere, but then you can also get it in varietal form. And if it's done well, good Grenache wines are really, really powerful and good to enjoy with a lot of things. Interestingly enough, this is what most people don't know, is Grenache is really a Spanish wine. That's a Spanish grape for the most part. Really northern Spain, southern France. That's really where you find the majority of it. But Spain and France are still, they're still the powerhouse, although you'll find it in a lot of other places around the world. So super big. It's a super tasty grape or wine. But you're right. Lots of fruit notes on the front. This one is also a grape that's used to make dessert wine. So it creates a lot of residual sugar, so you get a lot of very sweet and super high alcohol, by the way.
There we go.
Got to be careful with that, which is why Grenache can age a little bit.
Absolutely. So another one you can age. You can age your Chenin Blanc right beside your Grenache.
Heck yeah. So what does it pair well with?
Oh, let's see. Spicy. Spice dishes, ethnic dishes.
So this is up your alley again.
Yes, it is. That actually
right?
sounds fantastic.
We love spicy foods here. And one of the nice things about Grenache is because of its flavor profiles, it goes great with spicy foods. So if you like spicy stuff, even a spicy barbecue, you can make it work with that.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about Grenache, and this is something that a sommelier will tell you, when they're going through their taste test, one of the easiest ways for them to identify a Grenache is it has a very strong influence from the flavor of cinnamon. Cinnamon and allspice might be two of the most popular things in Grenache. And so when you taste a varietal of Grenache, you will probably sense some cinnamon or allspice. And if you do, you can just about guarantee that that's a Grenache.
I like
very,
that.
very, very common. It's found in almost any one that you drink, no matter where it's built.
That's a good hint.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that it would pair very well for the holidays. You know, everything's cinnamon and allspice. And I mean, Blake made that kombucha. I'm sure that had some cinnamon in it.
I bet it did. Yeah. Grenache can be paired with a lot of stuff. People drink it with a lot of cheeses, savory foods, desserts. And then, like I said, you can find Grenache in dessert wines. It creates a dessert wine. So definitely one that you should try. If you're not a Grenache fan, try it. Delicious. It really is in a league by itself. Don't look for a super dark wine, though. A lot of people think, well, if it's a red wine, if it's any good, it must be really dark. Grenache is going to look more like Pinot Noir, actually. So be cautious with that. Don't expect it to be super dark, but expect it to have plenty of body. It's going to be medium bodied, but you will not be lacking for flavor and experience. It's just a really, really good wine, and I would encourage you to try it and enjoy.
We all want wine. So Phil, share with us though. It's a big birthday. We have a lot of wine listeners.
Yeah.
What are you going to drink for your birthday? What are you going to pull out of the cellar and say, you know what? I deserve this.
Wow. I never feel like I got to just shoot straight with you. I don't feel like I deserve anything out of my cellar. In fact, most of my collectible things, I never really want to drink them because I probably enjoy looking at them and talking about them more. But this weekend, I don't know. I'm thinking that I'm probably either going to be in Australia, or I'm going to be in California I want something that's going to just stay on my palate for 2 or 3 minutes on the finish. So probably thinking about a Cask 23 from Stag's Leap.
Which we've talked about. Go back and listen to the shows.
Yep, that's a good one. I might pull a bottle of that. Or, I could always go to a Run Rig, something like that. I love it. But, who knows? And by the way, just for the record, it may not just be one bottle. So I might have to pull more than one.
It
so who knows?
should never be just one bottle. It's a big birthday.
Yeah, at 50 years old, I might have to drink 2 or maybe 3. I don't know. It depends on how I'm feeling.
You can celebrate all weekend.
I'll share next week what I drink.
Perfect. There we go. Right. That'll be one of the things we cover next week.
That's awesome. So, well, hey, it's been another great show. Always learn a lot on these shows, and I love sharing with our audience. Always appreciate my great co-host here, Sarah. She does a great job with it, and hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on We're Talking Money Live.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on We're Talking Money. Be sure to visit our website, www.omnistarfinancial.com, where you can learn more about how we provide value to our clients. Subscribe to the show and our newsletters, and drop us a line with suggestions for upcoming shows. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or simply tell a friend about the show. This podcast is a publication of OmniStar Financial Group. Any